Hello, YouTube. I'm Andrew Does Hair. You can find my work on Instagram at Andrew Does Hair. This is my friend George. He's a barber. You can find his work on Instagram at Be Easy Barber. What we're going to do for him today is a very layered, very kind of naturally textured mullet thing. Very 1980s, like just layered haircut. So he's been growing his hair long, as you could tell here, and it's kind of laying flat. It just like sits flat all the time. He likes it curls up and moves in the back, but he wants to see more of that curl and movement throughout the entire haircut. So we're basically going to layer it up a whole bunch. So the first thing I'm going to do here after I get everything wet down is to separate out a panel of hair around the right temple. And then what I'm going to do with that panel is take sections from the bottom to the top and pull them straight out parallel to the floor to cut them. Now, this very first section that I'm taking, I'm actually going to pull it a little bit slightly lower than straight out. And the reason I do this, it kind of happens subconsciously, is because when the hair sits, it's going to sit heavier and give me a stronger perimeter. But on subsequent sections working up the head, I am going to pull it straight out instead of pulling it down slightly as I did with the first one. The way that I'm cutting this, my finger angle and cutting angle is going to be slightly longer at the back and slightly shorter at the front here. So basically kind of a mullet, right? And once I get this first section cut, I'm going to use it as a guide to cut the next section. And then the next section will be a guide to cut the section after that. And essentially, I'm going to work this same kind of process up through the top of the head from the bottom to the top, right up to the middle of the head. Once I'm pulling hair from the left side to the right side to cut it, I'm going to stop and do the same thing on the opposite side. Once we're done working through the right side of the temple here, I'm going to go back and do the same thing on the left side. I'm also going to stop a couple times to check and make sure I'm getting the same length on the left that I had on the right. Now, once I get this left side cut, what you're going to find is if you were to take the hair and pull it straight up on top, it's going to kind of come to a point. And the reason that is that, like, if we pull everything to the far right and we, cut it to a straight line upward, and then we do the same thing by pulling everything to the far left and cutting it to a straight line upward, that's just going to naturally give us that point in the middle, which essentially is going to be weight at the top of our layers here. And so what I want to do is pull this hair up in the middle and cut that point off and just kind of like flatten it out up there. And what this is doing is layering the haircut. So that point in the middle that I'm removing, when the hair falls to the sides, that's going to be a good strong weight line, which we want for some hairstyles. But on this hairstyle, we don't really want a big strong weight line. So we're chopping that off up there. Now that the front is basically about done, I want to pull out some random pieces. I do this anytime I'm working with longer hair. I'll grab it and pull it and check it like that. Because a lot of times glancing at the hair, you can't see if it's crooked. But if you grab it and pull it out like that, you're like, oh, dang, that definitely feels crooked. Thankfully here we didn't make anything crooked. So what I'm going to do to layer the back here is pull everything up and out at roughly a 45-degree angle and cut it parallel to the floor. This is going to give us like lots and lots and lots of layers. It's kind of important as I do this, working in these kind of pie sections outward from the center of the head. It's important that I cut from the short side to the long side. If I cut from long to short, I find that it doesn't lay as nicely, and it's a lot easier to get the lengths and everything messed up. And so you can see here the side that I layered versus the side that I haven't layered yet has a lot more movement. It's just like flipping and moving more. So I'm going to work this all throughout the back of the haircut here. Once I'm done doing that, I'm going to take some vertical sections lower on the head, and kind of looking at where I was unable to continue layering the hair because the length wasn't there. When I was pulling it up, like, I could only reach so far, but I'm finding that length and now connecting it to the overall length at the bottom. It's really hard for me to explain what I'm doing here. It's kind of like I see it visually, and I've never actually taught this kind of haircut before. I just like do it. But as I pull this hair up and out, I can see the last hairs that I cut when I had everything vertical. And I'm basically connecting that to my length at the bottom here. And so we're preserving all the length of his haircut. We're just layering it. So now that I'm done there, I'm going to move everything around. And so with just water in the hair, I want to kind of push it and zhuzh it and make sure everything's moving nicely. And I would say that it is. We have some nice flow on the sides there and lots of movement in the back. So we really didn't chop a lot of hair off here, but the tiny bit that we did remove drastically changed the way that his hair was acting. And now that I know that I like the way the layers worked and the way that everything kind of moved, I can come in and just kind of tidy up the ends and detail it. So I'm going to put a taper right here to kind of connect into his little beard blend that he has going on. Very nice beard. I wish I could say that I did it. I do not do beards personally. So thankfully he was able to do his own for me. I thought about taking credit for his beard for a minute, but the last thing I need is someone coming in and being like, that beard looks great. Do mine like that. And I'm like, oh, I don't do beards. Sorry. So here I'm taking some product, just 80H dry here, very sparingly. I'm going to work it throughout the hair, and this is just going to kind of like, it works kind of like a sea salt spray in longer hair like this. It's just like going to give it a little bit of texture, a little bit of grit, but it's not like heavy or hard like a pomade or anything. And really, like, he shouldn't have to blow dry this, but since I don't want to make him leave with wet hair, I'm going to use a little bit of direct air to get the front flowing back, and then I'm going to use a diffuser here to get these curls to pop in the back. And I'm not even drying it completely. I'm getting it like almost all the way dry. And there we have it. It's a lot of movement, a lot of texture, a lot of curls popping here. And here, if you compare to his before, his hair's a lot straighter, a lot flatter. We'll compare his before to his after. It's quite a drastic difference. Even though we didn't cut a ton of hair off, we absolutely brought some life back into his hair here. And this is something I'm seeing so much these days, like lots of curl, lots of texture, lots of movement, lots of layers, lots of length. Like this haircut is like perfectly on trend right now. And believe it or not, in the barber scene, like I have a lot of clients who are barbers, and a lot of my barbers are doing these like longer curly mullets because they're very low maintenance. And when you cut everybody else's hair, you kind of want a haircut for yourself that you don't have to worry too much about. Anyways, thanks for watching.